Hello and a warm Collisions YYC. Welcome to my returning guest, Mr. Justin Caskey. How you doing, Justin?
Good. How are you today, Tyler?
I am fabulous. For the sake of my guests and the sake of the audience here, this is my first one back after a summer break, so it feels so good to be back behind the microphone. It was the perfect break. You and I were joking online. I'm excited to be back, but I was glad to take a break. And I think there's a lot to be said for that on the journey of life and leadership. Sometimes you just need to take a little break, give something a pause, which often doesn't... The world doesn't always conspire to give us those breaks. So I put one in place. I stuck it in the calendar, didn't record for the summer. So being able to come back on with someone I spoke to, I was looking back September 2021. Talk about lifetimes ago. Hey, Justin, I don't know how that feels for you, but I listened to the first start of our episode. I'm like, who is that guy? When was that? What has even happened since then?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and some of the things we were talking about then, I mean, they're distant memories, but also really pivotal in as far as the path we kind of chose. And we used the word pivot a fair bit in that conversation.
It was the buzzword of the early 2020s, was it not? Like, oh my God, we were all right in code. Anyways, I'm not even going to use the C word right now.
Okay.
Should never use the C word on a podcast anyway. It's frowned upon, except if you're British, but we'll not talk about that. So when we first chatted, your organization was called Patching Associates. You were introduced to me through the Alberta IoT Internet of Things Fast Track program when Brenda Beckendorf, who's a good friend of mine, was leading that organization. And I believe, if I understand right, and you can correct me, you as an organization, you were a 30 plus year organization that said, hey, we need to look at the world differently. We're going to sign up for the Fast Track program to open our eyes to maybe what's possible. That's my words, not yours. So I'm going to turn it back to you, and then we'll get into where things have evolved, because you've been on a bit of a journey the last 4 years, my friend.
Yeah, and that's get that great perspective. Just rewinding 4 years ago and seeing where we were there, and yeah, that's just right. We'd always been fairly, I guess, innovative or trying to solve problems in new ways. Fairly curious problem solvers, and that led us to Alberta IoT and got a new perspective on the technology that IoT can potentially unlock and the insights that come from it. So that was a great, excellent experience. Met a lot of like ecosystem people that knew what IoT was and we could find mutual benefit in leveraging that technology. And what we found since then, since going through that program, learned a lot about it, and we're able to do some research with IoT-enabled research through some of those partners. And the questions that we were asking ourselves then have started to change because we've found out what's possible now with IoT is a good example, but there's other examples of those types of exponential technologies, and they all kind of lead towards the parent of them all, which is artificial intelligence enabled by machine learning and fed with all types of new information and data. And I think that's kind of where our story is transitioned to now, is finding the pieces of exponential technology that can really start to enable scaling on a global stage. So that's where we're at right now. That's where our story continues, and there's more in between there. But yeah, really, that fast track program was
the word global stage is a great jump off point. Curious, this is my own kind of maybe nerdy question. I don't hear people talk about IoT as much anymore, and it might just be because that's not who I'm talking to, which I want to make sure that that could be just possibly the case, or is it becoming a little more one of those table stakes terms that now it's just kind of quote unquote the way it is, or am I just not in those conversations at this moment?
Yeah, us too, and maybe because we're looking at IoT as a piece of the puzzle, but I think at the time, or at least when we were first learning about it, between then and now, it has become more ubiquitous, closer to table stakes. Okay. There's still it's still incredibly important. I think Alberta actually is a leader through some of that work, is a leader in that space. There's different grades of IoT, and that's what we're seeing. It's like you can get IoT everywhere. Oh, I've got a watch on. There's IoT involved with that. But as far as applying it to specific business problems, it's no longer a question of if it's a solution. It's just it's more of a how to apply it kind of thing. So the question isn't is connected information or a connected device valuable? It's like just how to do it value.
And how are we now getting the most value out of said connected device? Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Which is the next step, which is I think what the focus is right now, at least in Alberta. That's my perspective.
That gives me that warms my heart, because I know certainly that was Brenda's. She's since moved on from the organization, but her goal of, and I knew a lot of people that were involved in the early days, Wilson Acton, Kevin Crow, they were all like why? I love that. Why not us? Like, why can't we be the leader? Like Alberta's got more data, more sensors, more industrial complex than so many places, and just reams of data. Why not here? So to hear you say like Alberta's still kind of maybe punching above its weight, my words, not yours, that I'm all in on the Alberta story. So when I hear little snippets like that, I grab onto them. But back to you guys. So Patching Associates acoustical engineering, is that no longer? And it is now?
Yeah, we changed the name and are rebranding. Yeah, so that's where we're at. That's our evolution, and we took a couple steps towards that.
Okay.
Through part of that, through the great, I guess, questions and mentoring and challenge that the Fast Track program has brought out,
Yes.
and other mentors have brought out as well. Some great organizations in Calgary and in Alberta, just related to business leadership and change. But so there's been a bit of evolution, but this is where we landed, was OpenCycle Technologies, which is Patching Associates Acoustical Engineering, fairly specialized. The name is full, fairly specialized niche engineering discipline in acoustics, solving noise pollution problems and questions, usually as they relate to regulations and how projects can fit within a community. And that's evolved to OpenCycle Technologies. There was an interim step, which was Sound Comply, which is like the MVP platform, which focused on sound. What we realized through that journey is that the acoustics is a deep enough and a complex enough problem that there's a pretty good prize to kind of solve it in a new way, because noise affects everybody and it affects now more and more projects. So it's a deep enough domain, but our customers and regulators are also asking about other things that oftentimes really modify how noise is experienced. So whether that's light pollution or smells or dust, or other emissions that may be regulated, may not be regulated, maybe something that's a concern for a specific group of people or even wildlife. Things like other pollutants. So we opened it up and saw the potential to expand past sound and acoustics into other emissions that affect the world and affect both projects and the people that live around projects.
Talk to me about the conversation around the table, and I'm thinking about. I always put my ears in the seat of somebody listening that is in a large organization, and there's that stick to your knitting and what's your core competencies. And so what I heard, like, we were acoustical experts, we were experts in that. But if you start thinking about all the things that affect the stakeholders, i.e. the community, the people involved, well, it's not just sound, it's those other things. How was that journey around the boardroom table for you to sit? I'm sure there was wrestling in many nights of like, do we open the aperture? Do we stay focused? Do we go broader? And did you have to switch your core focus of, well, we want to think about all the things that affect people, not just we were all about sound, but if we start to be about the people, we can't not look at the other things. I don't know. I'm playing through that multi-tiered boardroom discussion in my head a little bit. Let us inside the tent on that one.
Okay, I think my heart is beating faster. Just that. That's a good question. And it's not that.
Did I bring? Do you have a little PTSD?
No, not quite that. But it's more so. It's a little bit. It's a cross between excitement and
Excellent.
maybe PTSD.
Perfect. That is a good.
and the reason it's excitement is one of my passions is just understanding the role of expertise in how we basically get stuff done or make decisions or develop. Like as a society, as industries, whatever that is, like that's a fairly philosophical view, but that's typically where I go. The reason I'm excited about it is because we have deep expertise in noise or acoustics, born out of 30 plus years, 35 years of expertise. All this data and insights that come from doing something over and over and over again on thousands of different sites or different applications. So that's deep expertise. That is something that's incredibly special. But what we realized, and the thing we wrestled with is not so much about can we create value in these other domains, but how do we find other experts that are equally expert or equally as experienced and add value to them, because Alberta specifically, and maybe Western Canada or Canada, and other jurisdictions as well, they got tons of experts, and that expertise is really, really valuable. So the conversation did get us to switch. There's a debate: do we become experts in other things? Yeah. The answer is no. But how do we create a platform that allows those experts to shine? And we got a great proving ground, because we got the experts for noise, because we got that deep domain. But then, so that's kind of where we ended up. The result of that, both exciting and stressful debate, is that it's a platform is what we can provide. And the reason why we felt we could provide that platform is because the way that expertise is delivered to either solve a problem, but mostly it's how it's delivered to create trust that a project's gonna be okay. Like, it's not gonna create too much turmoil in the community. The way that trust is built is kind of age old. It's, sometimes it's the story of engineering. It's how, experimentation and failure leads to continuous improvement over months, years, decades. And we felt we could provide a platform that enables that in other experts. So it allows other experts to also participate outside of their silo. And that's kind of where we landed with it.
So that must have been a significant shift. Thank you for that. I love just like I add value to them. How was it now adding a whole other group of thems? Because the them before was the customer, and it was kind of us and the customer being, we are internal experts. We are experts on projects. We're experts on noise, acoustics, engagement with the community, all around this one discipline. Now, all of a sudden, you added a whole group of new stakeholders to the experts on dust, the experts on light, the experts on fill in the blanks. Was that an interesting shift for you as an organization to start to think about, when often the customer is the ultimate stakeholder, but you just added a whole another group to the mix that you were being a facilitator for? That's a big, it can be taken pretty lightly, I think, at the peril of organizations where they don't realize how many stakeholders they actually have involved to create success.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think we're still learning, and the reason is the size of the stakeholder ecosystem, or the number of stakeholders, is still increasing. And I think that's the fundamental problem. But we have there's a common problem amongst all those experts, and that is that the problem is that it's the stakeholder list is growing exponentially, and the amount of information that needs to be exchanged amongst those stakeholders to kind of get stuff done without huge regulatory delays or huge project financial risks, or health risks. The number of stakeholders that need to be involved and operate outside of their silos, everybody's dealing with that same problem. So we have a common problem set. Traditionally, that was solved through a whole lot of sweat, a lot of labor. Expertise is generally linear as far as a problem-solving tool, whereas because it's delivered through people, whereas a platform can start to enable some more exponential solutions. So common problem, but yeah, I guess to answer the question, we're still figuring it out because it is challenging, and some of the challenges are, I think maybe something we can get into too, is what we're experiencing on those the challenges with that. We're still.
Well, let's talk about it, because I think when a company chooses to change how they show up in the world after 30 some years, you're a startup, but you're not a startup. In some ways it's easier because you have a reputation, you're known. In other ways it's harder because you have so many ways of working that got you here, but won't get you there, just to use an overused. So talk to me a little bit about that journey. And you made the joke of it gets pretty philosophical. I'll go there with you all day, Justin.
Ooh, thanks.
Talk to me. Let's geek out a little bit about that journey of we're going to change this way. But yet the team has been so used to acting in a certain way and holding certain things as the most important. And now it's shifting, and now it's changing, and you're bringing more people into the mix. Those are challenges and opportunities every day, all day.
Yeah. When looked at through the lens of scarcity, meaning everybody's an expert on their own and they've all got a better answer, it can be pretty hard. So part of the first challenge is that mindset shift, whereas information or insights or knowledge even isn't scarce. It's actually turning abundant, and when the mindset can shift to abundant knowledge, and realizing that there's kind of more opportunity to collaborate, especially if you look at an ecosystem that's maybe regional, looking to export to the world, let's say Alberta, or Canada. Then we can look that way. So that's one of the challenges, kind of shifting that mindset from a scarcity mindset, which a lot of times knowledge or expertise can be people want to hold their cards close, to an abundance mindset. And that's one of our challenges internally. And that's, how we work with partners. And that's challenging. I think the other thing that we've seen is our focus, like we work in a lot of different industries, because with 30 years of experience, 30 years of data, the industries range from, oil and gas to renewables to traffic, to schools, hospitals, anything where people kind of experience noise or sound.
Just literally everywhere.
Could be everywhere. And that's a challenge in itself, because applying a technology means that there's got to be a specific problem to solve. Yeah. So that is a challenge.
Being for everyone is being for no one, right?
Yeah, that's right. And within that, there's a data component that's also another challenge. And just, which data is private, which data is confidential, and which data is public. What's happening is that there's a lot more public data available, and we see, whether it's a large scale LLM that's able to access the internet and start to look at some of that public data, or whether and then being able to bridge between those public data and then the private data sets, that the expertise really creates excellent contextualized, like validated data and insights. So bridging between those two is another challenge.
Going back to, I could pick on all those, but I'm going to go back to scarcity to abundance, because speaking of philosophy, that's a very different mindset. How are you, is there certain tactics? Is there certain ways of being? Is it just how you show up on a project and engage people? What are some of the things that you've seen maybe start, and it's never started. It's never over. It's never perfect. But how are you moving more to that abundance mindset? Is there certain things you found that have landed for people? Because that's it's a company mindset, but it's also a very individual kind of belief set, right?
Yeah. At the heart of that could either be it's either a threat or an opportunity.
Yeah.
So from a threat perspective, there's this knowledge has got to be held close so that it doesn't get commoditized. On the other hand, the opportunity is what happens if strategically parts of it are shared with the proper kind of safeguards in place to make sure everybody's okay with it. And I think that's where the focus is for us, especially because we're in the space of come from engineering consulting, moving to AI enabled engineering consulting. That trust factor, credibility comes from kind of making sure that the data or the information is really highly contextualized. So that's where the concept of co-intelligence comes in. It's not a threat to kind of, AI isn't a threat, it's an enabler. And that's where we've been focusing our efforts with the most success. Yeah.
And bringing that into projects, like now coming back to clients, the other challenge is permissibility, I find. I used to have a creative director who'd say that all the time. You can come up with the best campaign or the best offer, the best promise, but if the customer doesn't give you permission or believe you, it kind of doesn't matter. You've been in a certain line of business for 30 some years. How were the challenges to overcome clients going, wait, what? You do what now? Aren't you this? Because I'm more comfortable knowing you the way I've known you for 30 years and we've worked before. Was there, how was that comm strategy in terms of just letting your customer base know, because you want to capitalize on that trust in that 30 years, but oh, hey, by the way, we're also evolving. And sometimes that's hard or scary to your customer. I just want you to be who I always thought you were. It sounds like a good or bad long-term relationship, because it is. Don't change. Just be the same buddy I've had for this many years. But we're evolving. We're offering more. I'm assuming that in itself had its own lift.
Yeah, it was. And part of the maybe that's where more of the PTSD comes from. But no, definitely. So we're lucky. Our story is we're really lucky because we basically our team didn't change. So and those relationships happen on a person to person level. Yeah. So our team stays the same. So that essentially becomes our brand is our team, and that's where we're really lucky. Those our experts haven't changed. Name changed. What we're unlocking or enabling is growing. The core is the foundation of that. So that's kind of the approach we took. Yeah.
And am I right? I'm using your LinkedIn as my source of truth. Has it been 2 years on almost exactly 2 years on OpenCycle Technologies? Because it says October 23 is when you became the founder. So I'm basing it on that.
Yeah, that's right. So that's right. It's an evolution, but that's when we started using the name.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've co-branded for a while. We're still a lot of people recognize the old name as well.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's probably something that we're still trying to, we're not experts in. So that's where we would rely on someone that is an expert in that. And I
people are resistant to change. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Thinking about now funding, you made this transition. Did I'm being binary just for the sake of the question. Did Patching Associates fund OpenCycle AI to start with? Like, we're going to keep doing their projects as we grow this. We're going to go and get funding and treat OpenCycle as a bit of a startup, even though it's a rebrand. Like, give me a little bit of the mechanics or whatever you feel comfortable sharing around how you managed that transition. Was the right pocket paying for the left pocket, that kind of a thing? Or was it just simply we changed the name and this is the company and now we're just moving in a fresh direction?
Yeah. We changed the name. And I think that's a simple act. The actual
often underestimated.
yeah, for sure. So we changed the name, but the evolution as far as the investment part of things. We're an engineering consulting company for 30 plus years, and at times that generates profit. At times that generates gaps in work. It's pretty up and down. So we were able to take the profit from the busy times and reinvest it. Okay. And through the years and kind of building, we were able to find funding as well from government funding to invest in the technology. And that was non-dilutive, like grant-based stuff? Yeah, grant-based stuff. Nice. Grateful that both Canada and even Australia, we have an operation in Australia, there is funding for this type of innovation, because the problem is can affect overall economies or society. Like it is an impact-based problem. Mm-hmm. So the government does have mandates to, one, develop technology, but two, solve some of those issues that may not be solved by private industry on a case by site basis.
When it comes to major projects and some of the things that our government is talking about now that I really hope they follow through on, some of this green lighting of major projects doesn't mean doing them recklessly. It means doing the things like companies like yours would be involved in. We're going to do a major project, but we're going to make sure that we look at the constituents, look at the environment, look at the neighborhoods we're affecting, look at the people, all the things. Like, I want us to move forward, but that doesn't mean being reckless about it.
Yeah. And that actually spurs on other related industry as well. So our industry, as an example, 100%. It means that you can create value in a space and create innovation that at some point could be exported to the world. That's where we see it right now, is because there's been this balance between development and activity, and also kind of stable regulations or consistent expectations. Innovation happens through there, and then that knowledge, experience, technology can be exported globally. The funding part, Patching funded OpenCycle, and with the help of government, and now we're shifting. We're shifting into commercialization and scaling globally, both globally and into new domains. So we have a platform, an enterprise level platform that that we have users for, subscribers for, in Alberta and in Australia, and that was self-funded with a great help from the government.
Okay, I appreciate that. And what was the tie to Australia?
Yeah, so we started our Australia operation in 2017. We got lucky. We had somebody that was looking to move there.
To me, sounds like a relationship at the right time and the right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, where we entered was actually an industry that was busy in Canada, like coal bed methane or gas from coal. Alberta is really good at that. There was, with LNG in Australia, there was a fair bit of activity in that area. So, and Australia has tight regulations or stated regulations, plus also an expectation of a good quality of life for citizens. Mm-hmm. So we were able to find a spot where there was a good opportunity to enter.
Similar jurisdictions to work in from a regulatory perspective? Is there, I've heard that there's lots of parallels, but that's, depending on who you talk to. Is it more or less like regulated? That's a broad statement that doesn't mean anything without context.
Yeah. The good thing about being in Alberta, in our niche, is that Alberta is regarded as a well-regulated place, and the regulations make sense. They work. They create they incentivize a best practice that can get better over time, and that's where that whole concept of OpenCycle came from. Is there's a best practice that gets better over time, and Alberta. So if you're born in Alberta, a lot of regulations, especially with the internet, are fluid and they get shared, copied. Best practices get moved to other jurisdictions. So, well, it's not the same exactly in Australia. The concepts are the foundation, the framework is the same at some point. Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
That makes sense, and I've heard that from other industries, and Australia comes up in that context. Talk to me a little bit about your people. Obviously, change. We joked earlier. Change can be challenging. Some people embrace it. Some people are really great with being uncomfortable. The upskilling of our workforce, of taking experts. And I've had lots of conversations with people on the show about Alberta, and we've got such deep expertise. And how does it cross balance? How do they those that they group, often engineers, very highly technical individuals, now embrace this onslaught of new technology? Have you been able to, I'm going to use the word upskill a little bit loosely. Have you been able to continue to build and grow with your current team? Has there been a big, group of new hires to fit this new way of looking at the world? How have you managed that side of it from a culture and also just a recruiting perspective?
Yeah, that's it's a challenge because, and it is a challenge, opportunity as well. So yeah, we've had to hire, different skills. Mm-hmm. So changing from engineering consulting to a technology enabled engineering consulting company. You're
building product. That's a very different, you're building your own product. That's very different.
Yeah. I think that we found it's hard, but we found the mix where the experts that are know how to do it, know what the answer should be, are really good at validating what the product itself, what the technology does. Yeah. So we found that synergy, and especially with AI, like IoT, we've talked about IoT, and it's become almost, I'll say table stakes, but it's become not a question whether or not IoT will be valuable to industry, or how fast Industry 4.0 happens is maybe the question for a specific, like oil and gas or renewables or crypto mining or data centers, but it's happening, and I think AI is there too. Whereas 4 years ago it was still a question. It's not a question anymore. So everybody's aware. It's more, this is happening. It's like, how do we do it? And that concept of co-intelligence, that's what we've decided to invest in, versus a pure startup that's focusing just on one aspect of it. So the team that we have is embracing that. It's not done. It hasn't been done before. There's not a lot of awesome roadmaps, at least from my perspective, or in our industry. So that's where we're at with it. So our team mix has changed, but also there's been upskilling. We have been lucky to have some funding to help with both the upskilling and also hiring new skill sets. So data science is a good one. An engineering consulting company may not necessarily have a data scientist. We do, because we're taking this innovative approach, and machine learning expert, programmers, developers. Those are all new skill sets that we didn't have 5 years ago. We have now, and they're starting to work together with the traditional skill sets.
How uncomfortable were those first few hires? Or was it, no, we're clear on a roadmap and we know who we need to put on the team? Or was it a bit of both?
Bit of both, yeah.
Okay. I love you. I appreciate your honesty, Justin.
This has been my leadership experience, is the clearer the better, because if there's waffling, it's just hard for everybody. So, but that's something we've had because we've got traction. I think actually, when I think about what's changed or what's made it easier is that our customers are also expecting it. So, they're asking for it.
A little bit of push, a little bit of pull.
Yeah, that's right. It's not that it's not a crazy idea. They want it. They're looking for it actively. And so the customers we've got traction with are validating that it's important to them. And that's how we move or pay our salaries, is we provide something that's valuable to a customer, another business, or even a government or a regulator.
Yeah.
And by implication, society, because it's valuable to them. They want a platform-based solution because they realize that the problems are exponential and the kind of traditional linear delivery methods aren't keeping up to what they need. So that's making it easier too. It's validating that it's a thing.
Well, and you're moving from the world of project-based thinking to life cycle, open cycle. Like, this is a long-term, this is ongoing. I was looking through your website today, seeing like, oh, post a ticket. Did someone go on site? Did they fix it? Was it fixed? Did we report back to the regulator? Like, I got a pretty quick idea. Just like, oh, I see how we're really becoming part of operating whatever it is that's being operated that needs to be reviewed in these ways. Is the way I kind of took it by spending. I always try to be that outsider coming in, and in 5 minutes, if I can't get a pretty clear understanding, it's either not clear or I'm just not picking it up. I'm not going to always blame the website, but that's where I started to see. I was like, oh, this is very different from what you and I chatted about 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's thanks for looking at it. Those examples you just kind of threw out are what we find is that those are all things that the industry is doing. There's usually one person behind, let's say, track an issue. And with that, there's a chance they could get lost, but it's more likely that either like an issue doesn't get communicated to other people. And so a person still has to be on it and add their expertise in order to kind of move it along. But the data side of things is something that is hard for one person or even a small team to manage, or even a department to manage. So in which case, that's what OpenCycle provides. Because it's a platform base, it actually reduces the load for experts, so they can actually do things they really like to do. And oftentimes it's not managed
be
data.
Experts, not administrative. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and my heart's starting to beat higher again, because what that's enabling for people that really want to solve complex problems is it deloads it's automation helps with this, because it deloads the mundane tasks that are really important, especially in a really, really highly scrutinized regulatory world. You got to manage those tasks well, but it deloads those tasks so they could solve problems they didn't actually realize they believed they couldn't solve a few years ago. So we're starting to see new problems pop up. And I'll bring that back to the IoT stuff. We realize that through that work and through the help that we got from other ecosystem members, is that it opened us up to solving bigger problems that we actually didn't see were problems before. And that's the cool thing. Maybe I don't know if that's an Alberta magic, but something about it is creating the belief that the bigger problems can be solved. Kind of unlocks some of that expertise bias, because experience does create a bit of expertise.
Of course it does.
Get good at solving a problem. We know there's going to be a solution for. We got the solution for. Which also kind of sometimes can bias the questions we ask. Now we're asking new questions, and that's why my heart's racing a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah.
And as a marketer, I might say you're opening up the cycles for them to have a little more space to solve the bigger problems. I'm just going to keep using your name in a sentence as much as I can. But, I appreciate how much, you're articulating it very clearly, but I also am really appreciative that that's come off lots of thinking and lots of time and lots of frustration and lots of probably maybe a few sleepless nights counting the ceiling tiles or whatever the case may be, to like, okay, how are we going to tackle this? And parking what you know about something to let what could be potential come in. That's really easy to say off the cuff. It's hard to do in reality when you're a deep expert in something. It's been my experience working with SMEs in all kinds of companies, even to communicate their value proposition effectively from a marketing perspective. A lot of times they just get frustrated because they know it so deeply, but it's not always articulated in a way that other people can know it. And that's a tricky balance.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Or has been my personal experience.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of things that come to mind there that really, brings me back to thinking about the concept of scarcity versus abundance. Sometimes an expert might know intuitively that there's a solution or a problem and solution that's bigger than kind of the current best practice. Or when counting the ceiling tiles, they focus on one ceiling tile and kind of don't really look at the others because the solution's a little bit fuzzier. But I think that's part of the journey too, is to have some time and space, or maybe reason to look at the fuzzier problems, the problems that may not be quite solvable right now, but there's belief that it could be solvable later. I think Alberta provides that opportunity. There's a prize for looking at things a little bit differently.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
There's a prize for looking at things differently. It's not a bumper sticker, but we're getting there. I like that.
Getting there.
I like that. How was the journey, back to a very business question, pricing out, it's X amount of hours, it's going to cost this much, we have this many resources on the project. Pricing out a services-based solution is pretty straightforward, especially you've been doing it for a while. Now, all of a sudden, you had to start to price out a software solution, a product. How was that journey of understanding where that might fall, what it looks like? And again, always share as much details as you're comfortable with or not, but pricing out something like a product offering, like a platform, like a membership, for lack of a better term, versus X amount of hours to do X amount of things. That could also be a struggle for a lot of organizations that I've experienced companies as they've made the shift. They just had no idea how to price out something that wasn't hourly, because that was their DNA. That was their bread and butter.
The shift from hourly to and there's been stages. So in our experience,
for sure.
And the first part of that is definitely a team thing. So really lucky to have a team that's focused on solving that problem, or realizing that it's a question, I guess, first. Yep. That there's a different way to do it, and take the hourly versus not hourly for pricing services. Mm-hmm. That happened a while ago when it took a while, but the team did it, and we got a really good team to kind of grapple with that and take some discipline, because the habits are, valuing expertise in hours, in buckets of hours, as opposed to valuing expertise in what it could do, I guess. So that happened a while ago for us. And so that was first stage. It was a milestone, I guess. And our team really did it. I think what drove it too is that because we'd already started automating some of the processes, and this is maybe where I'll share too much, it meant that if we were on an hourly basis, we were basically, every time we innovated, we got less revenue. So it was because we were doing it faster.
I've had this conversation recently with a bunch of companies. They're like, well, if you do it more efficiently, do you just give a discount? I'm like, well, I don't know. Did you quote on hours, or did you quote on value of outcome? And we got into this debate of like, well, what did you actually sell them? If you sold a bucket of hours, where's integrity or not? But if you sold a solution and you were good at doing that solution, well, then that's product. That's a different thing, right?
Yeah.
But philosophically, it bends your brain if you've always lived in one, not the other, right?
Yeah. And there's a bias towards what's worked in the past. Yeah.
Yes, there is.
And I from a regulation perspective, and we struggle with this now, like even the taxation policies or how you report things to the government is based on labor hours still. So we do have struggle with it.
The government's slow to keep up with innovation and technology and change. What? Say it's not so. Sorry, I'm always going to take a dig on the government whenever I can.
Yeah, at a larger, this is a sidetrack. So I'll try to be. One of the larger visions we have is to enable faster regulatory adoption through data. Right now regulations are slow because there's a little bit of uncertainty about what effect it could happen. But we believe through leveraging, let's say, IoT, machine learning, a connected platform approach. And we've had some examples of this where the regulators say, yeah, actually we want to move faster, but we just need the data and insights to do it in a credible or a trustworthy way, in a way that we're comfortable with. And we think that that's something that the next phase for Alberta to export to the world is the ability to bridge those two.
I like that.
Yeah.
Which would result in being able to move faster.
Adaptability around the world.
I know. Whether that's faster is kind of a lazy way to say it. But
sorry.
At the speed of innovation, the speed of change, at the speed at which it's required, maybe is a better way to say it.
Yeah, no, we see that as that's a larger vision. Right now, we're focusing on kind of the commercialization side of things because we have a product that's in demand. But the bigger vision for the not even that far in the future, but is to scale, because governments are also looking for faster ways to innovate how they manage change, whether that's the energy transition or whatever form it's taking today, or responding to tariffs, or like there's a lot of change that has to happen on a large scale.
It's just all the change.
Yeah.
So if I hear you talk, from a stakeholder perspective, I'm using that word. Obviously, you've got potential government stakeholders and provincial, federal, national. You've got the customer who's trying to solve said problem. You've got the community. There are individuals that are being affected by the project, whether it's dust, light, noise, whatever the case may be, environmental impacts of all shapes and sizes. Now you've got this other stakeholder group, which are the deep experts in dust and light and all that long list I could put together. And then you've got your own organization in the middle. It's a pretty interesting, there's a lot of people in the mix with agendas, with motivations, and you as a leader and you as an organization really navigating that so everybody can get a piece of it, because it sounds like if everybody's getting something from it, it's going to elevate your success, is what I'm hearing from the outside.
Yeah, we've got one graphic that we use, and it's a web. Yeah. It's a lot of stakeholders. And that's just the kind of the primary stakeholders that would, actually send an email or add insights or produce a report. Then there's the other stakeholders, which are, accessing or influencing through social media or through talking to their neighbors, or, there's a huge ecosystem around it. Only solvable in our view, as far as that big picture, only solvable through advanced technologies, AI is at the center of it. The question or the challenge then becomes to do it in a way to solve the problems or to make the problems better, but to do it in a way that's going to be accepted by current regulations, and really to bridge between the potential of AI and the reality that there's a reason why experts are absolutely vital to creating trust with these things.
The co-intelligence model, which I really like. And we're in such a rush to be binary. Sometimes it's all AI or all human. I'm like, well, no, what about, it's a tool. How do you manage the unpredictable but rapid pace of AI evolution? If you're co-creating and you're building something that's relying on a certain way that AI does something, and that's changing every 7 weeks, or depending what stat you hear, it's evolving at that pace. With that co-intelligence, does that also allow you to kind of balance where AI will happen to be in 3 months, because you're now also relying on your subject matter experts? Like, how do you guys balance that when the subject matter experts are growing and evolving, but AI is growing, evolving at a 10x pace to that in terms of what it's capable of?
Organizationally, we have created the function of kind of someone or a team looking at that, like staying on top of the not the bleeding edge, the easily accessible edge of AI, and recognizing that we're never going to predict what's next as far as like the commercially available AI solutions, like the large models. We're never going to be able to predict what's next, except for we can rely pretty steadily, at least right now, we can rely steadily on it's going to get better and better. That's been the track for 2 years or so. It's just getting better and better. And sometimes surprisingly so, sometimes it stops. But the underlying assumption, it's going to get better. So all we need to do is use what's there in a way that's still, I guess, credible, or it's still going to create trust and not create risk for our customers. And then the deeper part of AI, and then we're working heavily on that with our team, our in-house team. And I shouldn't have waited this long to bring this up, but one of the successes we've had in this year is we've got our first like dilutive investment from the University of Alberta Innovation Fund. Okay. And that,
I think I read that on your website, or I saw that.
And what a like great gift that's been, a gift, but we also work pretty hard to get it. But
I appreciate the comment. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, they invest like that innovation fund invests in AI companies. So for them to invest in OpenCycle Technologies or OpenCycle.ai is kind of validates that the opportunities in the AI space. And because now we're connecting with those deeper experts in AI, we're able to start really to focus the development on the use cases that are going to be valuable in the future. Assuming
the valuation, the opportunity to get a PR and exposure by moving from a services-based engineering firm in Alberta. Okay. Not that exciting, even though you might be awesome, because they're kind of a dime a dozen, just to play that a little bit, to all of a sudden now be recognized by a funding partner that, no, we're investing in you because we see you in the AI category. Like, that's not to be taken lightly. I see that as hugely valuable on many, many fronts from my outsider's point of view.
Yeah, and the expertise that brings, because there's expertise in every domain, and AI is one of them. The expertise that it brings for us, or helps us develop internally, is allowing us to take a little bit of a longer term view on what's next with AI. And so the OpenCycle is an applied AI platform. It's already enabled with AI, but the foundational data structures that we built into it are with the intent of being able to unlock deeper AI that's available right now. So that's kind of how we're managing the transition. There's the tools that help with productivity right now today, and we have a team that's looking at that. And then there's the tools that will be really valuable for our ecosystem, whether that's a partner or an oil and gas company or a data center that's trying to build infrastructure and deal with all of the complexities of stakeholders and opinions. There's another sidetrack, and I won't go down that road, just around how new technology is viewed versus how old tech or like traditional technology is viewed. And I think that's more of a marketing thing, like a perception thing, public perception thing. There
are some technologies. There's also some technologies that have been around for a long time that also have a very bad. Let's just pick on nuclear for a quick second. It's the Jaws of the energy world. Like, it sounds great, but I don't want it in my backyard. And after you watch Jaws, do you really go in the lake without thinking about it? After you watch Chernobyl, but you see that technology as a way of like, wow, that's going to unlock so much for us in the future. Sorry, I'm going on some weird rabbit hole myself. But it's got such a public perception and a branding issue, reality challenge, but with some good comms and some proper experts at the table going, actually, no, we've solved for this and we've solved for that. It's actually relatively safe, but it's got a horrible branding problem, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah.
Just to pick on one, easy one to pick on.
Yeah. And we're focused right now on kind of solving the problems that are outside of or not getting too deep into the perception side of things. But our platform is built with the view of actually looking at the social sentiment side. So the data structures on the emissions and how the emissions work in the environment, they're all getting us ready. And the data that's in there now and our customers are feeding it, are all geared towards being able to unlock some of those public perception questions in the future. And that's what's really exciting, because that's a even bigger problem set that we didn't.
But you're starting very much with the tangible. It can be measured. If it's in the green, it's in the green. If it's in the red, it's in the red kind of mindset. Where sentiment is hearts and minds is a whole different thing. But to your point, it's a piece of that puzzle for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. Obviously, you guys feel like you're full steam ahead. You and I chatted only 4 very short years ago, but it feels like lifetimes actually. But so much has happened from an organization. If you and I chat 4 years from now, what would we talk about?
Yeah,
we're going to talk 4 years from now, Justin. Okay. I'm just laying it out for you. Maybe we wait for 2, but if we did chat 4 years, what would be the highlights?
Yeah, by then we'll be a global leader in emissions regulation technology, and applied AI in that space. So that's where we'll be in 4 years. Is a global player. I guess in some ways we are now, but it's just getting started.
Yep. I appreciate that. And also, one of my questions would always, well, who do you need to knock out of that place, or who do you need to disrupt? But you're also doing it in a new way, and you're like so much of what's happening. Who's going to be in the game 4 years from now is going to be very different in every sector than it is today, because it's not just getting better at doing it the same way. It's people doing it in net new ways. So that's kind of an exciting question when you think about the future being very overwhelming, but ultimately incredibly blue sky as well. If you want to look at it that sheerly, like we're moving into a space that no one has been in before, because we just haven't had the technologies. We haven't had the ability to collaborate. We haven't had the abundance to bring these experts together. I think that's pretty exciting from a blue ocean, just to play with those terms, perspective.
Yeah. The analogy I think of there, kind of as it relates to our industry, is there's a lot of experts or teams of experts or really, really solid, I guess, consulting or service-based businesses in Alberta, Canada, around the world, thousands. And those are kind of like fitness centers or like gyms. There's a lot of gyms around the world. Everybody goes and it's really valuable. They create value on its own. Sometimes it's only valuable if it's used, though. I guess it could still create.
That's the quintessential truth about a gym membership.
It can still create. It's a business. It's a good business, and it can still create value both for the people that go and maybe the people that don't go. They still get value, but it's kind of one-offs.
Yep.
Whereas we see as unlocking the ability to be more of like the fitness tracker or like the kind of the Fitbit type thing.
Yep.
And maybe that's a riff on IoT, but it's more than IoT. It's the platform approach can start to unlock some more predictive analytics to actually get people to go to the gym more, or in the analogy for our world, believe that small changes can turn into a better environment, a better communities and industries that move faster. And I think regulators like that story too, because they also want to enable faster movement as long as it's responsible. So I think that's kind of an analogy we see in 4 years. We've got a lot of gyms and those are providing a lot of value. At some point in time, there's these new layers of technology will enable more predictive and more effective ways to change society. Yeah.
Well, really what you said about people want to move faster, but they need to do it in a safe way, which means better access to data that is understood by the experts, so that when we make a change or we move forward in what seems quick, it's only able to be quick because we have the data that we trust and the experts to kind of back it up. Like that's where I see that coexistence and then co-relationship. That I love the co-intelligence model. I think that gets often overlooked in the AI or not question versus let's actually talk about how most tools have really benefited society. It's by co-opting with experts to be able to implement that.
Yeah.
Makes me feel better about my life. And it also feels more realistic. We love to be binary, whether it's a news cycle or watching videos. It's all this or all that. I'm like, wow, there's probably in the middle, there's a blend, because that's how it's almost always been, right? But we love to get excited about how technology is going to take our jobs and do all the things. But yet it's, what did I hear the other day? AI is not going to take your job. It's that other individual who's really good at using those tools that might disrupt your job. And I was like, that feels probably more believable to me as a statement than versus the other. But it's the best part about the future. Who knows?
Yeah. And I think that's part of the decisions, the strategic decisions around these types of changes around AI is like, if it's a binary decision, it's pretty stressful, and we've embraced now through trying a few things, but we've embraced that co-intelligence. And part of that, I think you asked a question about pricing earlier, and I gave a half answer. And that transition from hourly to like a more fixed fee or outcomes based. Mm-hmm. That's only part of the story, because we're transitioning to a platform, and it is challenging to switch it to a subscription base. Yeah. The good thing there again is that customers are asking for it. They're looking for a solution that's not consulting based, or that's consulting that gets the best of the consulting or service based approach, with also the necessary enablements of exponential technologies, because the data sets are huge. The stakeholders are like massive, and there's millions of pieces of information to exchange. So they're asking for it, a new model that's a blend of consulting and subscription. And the challenge that we've seen there is to figure out what, if it's cannibalizing existing or not. Like that's an internal thing, and that's where it's challenging. But we've had success. The customers that are switching over to the from that kind of consulting service to the platform-based subscription service are doing it because it's their strategic prerogative to do it. They have their own. They're realizing if there's value in it for them to do it. So we're just navigating that customer by customer and product by product.
Well, Justin, I always believe that it's better to disrupt yourself than have someone else do it for you.
Yeah.
At least you've got your hand kind of on the wheel. And it still doesn't make it any more comfortable sometimes for the change and just the pace of it all.
Yeah.
Amazing to have you back on, my friend. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for another good conversation. I came in very optimistic and very excited about our dialogue. I enjoyed our conversation 4 years ago. And you and I have kind of bounced into each other. It's a small ecosystem. You run into people. And so I'm really excited to, one, share your journey, one, to reconnect with you. And thanks for just being honest and just kind of, open the kimono, as they say, and walk us through. And jokes aside, we will chat again.
We will chat again. And could it be about vegetables?
It could be. Time. I know we didn't get into onions. We didn't get into rutabagas. I saw a couple windows to bring up the onion. And I left it. That'll be more on that'll be our leadership conversation where we get into communicating effectively with a team in a rapidly changing environment, which if you're a leader today, you are dealing with it. Hey, if somebody wants to learn more, opencycle.ai is your website. Lots of cool stuff on here. I've been going down the rabbit hole this morning. If they want to reach out, talk to you, if they want to apply for a job, what's the best way for someone to engage with you or with OpenCycle?
Yeah, OpenCycle, the website's good, and then LinkedIn as well. You'll notice there's 2 LinkedIn profiles up. We're amalgamating. Actually, that's something that we're not an expert in, so rely on others to help us with that as far as what to do with that. But so either LinkedIn profile will work. To get a hold of us.
Well, thanks for listening. I love if people are still hanging on for the end, if they're still here at this because they liked it, because they were bought in, share it, reach out to you guys. Justin, I always enjoy my chats and I really love what you guys are doing. You're kind of doing the thing. You went through, you exposed yourselves to some new ideas. You said, hey, yeah, you know what? This could work for us. Let's now go on this journey, which, has I'm sure been rife with twists and turns that we didn't even come close to touching on today.
Thank you for your awesome questions and for your support, Tyler.
My pleasure, man.
Great conversation.
I do this because I love it and I get to chat to guys like you. So thanks for leaving me more inspired than I started my day. It's great.
Likewise, same here. And
cheers, my friend. Day.